EU unity cracks over Russia's frozen billions. Italy joins Belgium in blocking €210 billion Ukraine plan. Brussels plan hits wall days before EU summit. A growing rift inside the European Union is threatening plans to unlock billions of euros in Russian frozen assets for Ukraine. Just days before a crucial EU leaders' summit, Italy has joined Belgium in pushing back against the European Commission's proposal. The move complicates Brussels' efforts to finalize a deal that would redirect roughly €210 billion in Russian state reserves to support Ukraine's war-hit economy. Italy's intervention marks a significant shift. As one of the EU's largest members by population and voting power, Rome's opposition gives new weight to Belgium's long-standing concerns over legal and financial risks. Belgium has warned that if Russia were ever able to reclaim the funds, it could be left liable for the full amount, a risk Brussels has been unwilling to absorb alone. An internal document shows Italy aligning with Belgium, Malta, and Bulgaria to urge EU institutions to consider alternatives, as per reports by Politico. The group is calling for options that comply with EU and international law while reducing exposure to legal retaliation. Among the alternatives, EU-backed loans or temporary bridge financing to support Ukraine over the coming years. The European Commission had hoped to seal political agreement at the December 18-19 summit, but the growing resistance now threatens to derail that timeline. Even without the numbers to form a blocking minority, the public dissent weakens momentum and undercuts the appearance of unity. Italy's stance also reflects internal political fractures. While Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni continues to back sanctions on Russia, her coalition remains split over long-term support for Ukraine. Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini has taken a softer line towards Moscow and openly supported US President Donald Trump's push for a negotiated end to the war. With Hungary and Slovakia also voicing skepticism, Brussels faces a narrowing path forward. Any move towards joint EU debt would require unanimous approval, a hurdle many see as nearly insurmountable. As leaders prepare to meet, Europe's effort to bankroll Ukraine now risks becoming a test of political will, legal limits, and unity itself.
Crack in EU unity? 190+ billion euro Russian assets row explodes.
Now Czech Republic joins bid to block Europe's plan to punish Putin. We won't finance Ukraine. Babis draws red line. EU in shock. A stunning blow to European unity. Just as the European Union moves to tighten the screws on Russia, one of its own member states is now breaking ranks. EU's very own member nation has now come out against the bloc's efforts to help Ukraine. Mincing no words, Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, Andrej Babis, flatly rejected the EU's plan to help finance Ukraine using frozen Russian assets. In blunt terms, Babis declared that Prague will not bankroll Kyiv. The statement sends shockwaves across Brussels. Babis, a right-wing Eurosceptic politician, took the reins of the Czech Republic earlier this week by campaigning on domestic issues. His predecessor, Petr Fiala, had launched a major international munitions procurement scheme for Ukraine, but Babis won elections. His message is now crystal clear. No guarantees, no loans, no financial exposure for Ukraine. In a clear-cut tone, Babis told the EU to find other ways to continue funding Ukraine. Babis said he informed about his intentions to Belgium Prime Minister Bart De Wever, who is also a vocal opponent of the EU's plan to fund Kyiv through a so-called reparations loan tied to about $200 billion in Russian assets frozen in the bloc. Belgium, fearing legal retaliation from Russia, has demanded guarantees from other EU members to share the burden if the funds must eventually be returned. According to Czech media, this could cost Prague about $4.3 billion. Babis said the country simply cannot afford it. He stated that we, as the Czech Republic, need money for Czech citizens, and we don't have money for other countries. We're not going to guarantee anything for them, and we're not going to give money either, because the coffers are simply empty.
A very warm greeting to you, and I wish you a beautiful Advent weekend. And if you'd like to see me, I'll be in Brno today at 2 o'clock, of course, with Alenka Šilerova, and we'll probably be serving punch there. If I'm not mistaken, it will be at Moravské náměstí by Jošta from 2 o'clock, and I'll be staying there for several hours. I wanted to tell you that we are not in power, as some of you might think. I will only become the full-fledged Prime Minister on Monday, after the new government is appointed on Monday, December 15th. And until December 15th at 9 o'clock, the government of Petr Fiala is in charge. Just so we're clear. Of course, we are preparing intensively to govern, and that's why I went on a working trip to Brussels, where I naturally spoke with the President of the European Commission. And some of you criticized me for smiling. Well, I was smiling because, of course, I was mainly lobbying for the SAFE program, where we can get very advantageous long-term loans, and where, in fact, Stanjura almost didn't sign us up. We have 2 billion euros there, while the Hungarians applied for 16 and the Poles for 43. And I guess I was smiling well, because in the afternoon, Ursula announced that she wants to expand it. I also actively lobbied for the esteemed Masaryk Oncology Institute, which, as you know, has a comprehensive and vital program specifically designed for oncology patients and is currently in the process of diligently applying for significant financial support within the broader and highly competitive Horizon program. And we also thoroughly discussed what important initiatives are currently being prepared for the upcoming European Council meeting. That means illegal migration, EU Schengen expansion, actually the multi-annual financial framework. Extremely important for us. And the meeting with the Belgian Prime Minister was important. I was there for more than an hour, and I agree with him. The European Commission must find other ways to finance Ukraine. We, as the Czech Republic, need money for Czech citizens, for the Czech Republic, and we don't have money for other countries. And the European Union has to solve that in another way. But we will not guarantee anything, nor will we put money there, because quite simply, the treasury is empty. That's how we inherited it from this government. So our government will meet on Monday. We'll have a press conference, of course, on Tuesday most of the day. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll be in Brussels, where there's an important agenda, and the government will meet again on December 22nd. So follow me, because only on this channel will you learn the truth. Yes, the post-November cartel, and if you haven't actually read David Martinek's commentary from October 10th, 2021, they haven't come to terms with losing the election, and of course there's still room for denigration. As part of my promise, I dared to say that I would do everything possible to make the Czech Republic the best place to live on our entire planet. And they laugh at me. And what's wrong with wanting that? I'd like us to be the best country to live in on the whole planet, wouldn't you? And of course, everyone is certain about the conflict of interest. No one has seen it, no one knows anything about it, but they've already made up their minds, and it stands that even when I die, they'll still say I actually have it. Yet, I'm probably the only one on the planet who did what I did. Irreversibly gave up the company I built over 32 years. So please, to all those podcasts and commentators out there, and that's mainly the post-1989 cartel, because those politicians come in, some of them steal, some just take the cushy jobs and make more than they ever would have otherwise. But those moralizers, those various commentators, they want to decide here who will be prime minister, who will be in the government. But they lost the election thanks to you, our voters. So keep following me. It's important because only here will you get truthful and exclusive information. So I look forward to next time. Take care of yourselves because as one epidemiologist wrote to me, there's a big flu epidemic coming. And of course, if you have any suggestions for us, like the mayor of Břeclav writes to me here, asking me to lobby and secure funding for the Břeclav bypass, or the director of the Masaryk Oncology Institute, who is missing 2 linear accelerators needed for cancer patients to receive treatment, which is a big problem and requires 600 million for that. So these are the things we will be addressing. So I look forward to next time and wish you a wonderful, wonderful Advent. And of course, on Sunday, I will light the 3rd candle. Please take exceptionally good care of yourselves and look after one another.
Meanwhile, despite the pushbacks, Brussels is pressing ahead. On Friday, the EU approved controversial legislation extending the freeze on Russian assets, replacing the 6-month renewal rule with a longer-term framework. The move has raised concerns about undermining the EU's core principle that major foreign policy and financial decisions require unanimous consent, with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán condemning it as unlawful. The EU's Commission wants a final deal next week, but cracks are widening. As the war in Ukraine drags on, Europe now faces a different battle, one within its own ranks. Unity, once Brussels' strongest weapon, is now under pressure. And the question looming large: can Europe punish Putin without tearing itself apart?
Generally, our proposal is legally robust and fully in line with the EU and public international law. The assets are not seized, and the principle of sovereign immunity is respected. Let me recall also that Russia's central bank assets held in the EU, including in central depositories such as Euroclear, are immobilized in line with the EU sanctions member states have followed since the start of Russia's illegal war of aggression.
A major financial war is brewing between Russia and the European Union. Frozen Russian assets worth more than 190 billion euros locked up inside Europe are at the center. Now, Brussels is tightening its grip. On Friday, the EU invoked emergency powers and froze the assets of the Russian central bank indefinitely. It invoked Article 122 of its treaty to override the vetoes from Hungary and Slovakia, known as pro-Russia EU states, and bypass the European Parliament. Brussels says the goal is clear: to force consensus on using Russian money for a so-called reparations loan for Ukraine. However, cracks are now widening within the bloc. A European Union Member of Parliament, Fernand Kartheiser, issued a blunt warning. Kartheiser, an MEP from Luxembourg, spoke exclusively to Russia Today, or RT News. He said the EU's move is legally questionable, economically dangerous, and institutionally damaging. He further added that the EU's move is legally questionable and will have a lot of impact. The MEP also said that the EU's move will affect smaller and medium-sized countries with the sidelining of Hungary and Slovakia. Kartheiser even warned that by doing so, the EU is prolonging the war in Ukraine. Belgium, the country holding the bulk of Russia's frozen assets, is also sounding the alarm. Out of 210 billion euros frozen across Europe, nearly 193 billion sits inside Euroclear, a Belgian financial clearinghouse. The money was frozen under sanctions that the EU imposed on Russia over the war it launched on February 24, 2022. Officials warn that stealing money from the Russian central bank would shake the foundations of Europe's financial system. Brussels said a forced grab could spark capital flight, scare off global investors, and leave Belgium exposed to massive legal retaliation. Hungary and Slovakia, too, are breaking ranks, urging the EU to step back from seizures and return to diplomacy instead of escalation. The European Parliament is meeting on Friday, which would allow EU leaders to decide how to use Russian central bank assets to support Ukraine financially and militarily when they hold a summit next week.
We can expect that Russia will continue to launch speculative legal proceedings to prevent the EU from upholding international law and to pursue the legal obligation for Russia to compensate Ukraine for the damages it has caused, putting forward solid guarantees for Belgium and also financial institutions in our proposal. But from Commission side, we are open to work further and see how to further accommodate Belgium's concerns, and this work is ongoing as we speak.
It's an obligation for the European Union to deliver on financing for Ukraine one way or another. So the job is to make sure that we deliver on that, and I think all member states are highly aware that if we are not able to deliver on that, that comes with enormous consequences for Ukraine, but indeed also for Europe, because we already feel the effects of the war. I think we have to foresee that the effects will be even more severe to European security if we're not able to help Ukraine.
Yesterday there was an agreement, at least in Coreper, for a more clearly defined immobilization of the sanctions against Russia. Do you think this definitely paves the way for an agreement on that reparations loan, and do you think you'll be able to convince Belgium? Yesterday we saw the Belgian minister a bit more open, at least compared to his prime minister.
Well, it is indeed an important step, one that we hope will be finalized today, which is to be able to continue the immobilization of Russian assets regardless of the sanctions framework. This provides additional guarantees to be able to actually use them, for example, with this reparations loan, and in this case for those Russian assets to be the ones that help guarantee the financing of the Ukrainian economy. We hope that this first step will be concluded today, and that over the next few days we can also try to finalize the conditions as much as possible to ensure there is majority support for the reparations loan at next week's European Council. There will be a lot of meetings in the coming days to be able to guarantee this, and we hope we can reach an agreement because it is an extremely important deal.
They are very insistent on achieving it with the broadest possible majority. Do you consider it viable to move forward with this agreement and the loan without Belgium's support, even if the rules allow it, even if it's possible, say, tomorrow?
Well, I think that yesterday one of the things, or two things we could see clearly were practically unanimous in the discussion we had at dinner. One of them is that we all agree on the urgency of Ukraine's need in terms of financing, and therefore the urgency we have in being able to make a decision. And then also, in this case, the willingness to accommodate the concerns of, in this case, the Belgian minister or the Belgian authorities, right? I believe this is an issue on which the Commission is also working hard, and from the rest of the member states, we are aware that it is necessary to address these concerns, and we hope that this can be done in the coming days.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin calls any move to top Russian funds outright theft, warning retaliation will be swift and severe if European leaders cross that line. Russia's central bank said that it has filed a lawsuit in Moscow against Euroclear for damages it says were caused when Moscow was barred from managing the assets.